everyone. My name is Nichel Anderson. I'm your host for my podcast show, Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond, where I am broadcasting my love of writing, and I hope you enjoy these short stories that I'm releasing. This marks the last week of my recent new short story, the new epic short story entitled Atlantis, my take on that infamous part of history or mythology that many people enjoy reading about. So that's my take on it. So I hope you enjoy it. This particular last week is entitled Persistent Will Always Prevail. So in this particular last episode, I do return back and focusing on the royal family as well as some other characters to give you an idea that there's more to what's going on in the primary scene. Some other things are being forthcoming, and the main characters, the two twins, are discovering that an unknown enemy is taking root and making their first move. So from this particular episode, Persistent Will Always Prevail, we take a look at that and move forward the story from last week. And this particular podcast is mainly of my Mole production. Mole stands for Moments of Love in Ancient Egypt. It is based on my book, Metum. Currently, Mole production is in the prep phase of the prestige return of Mole stage play. It will be the third time the production goes back to stage. Once those dates are announced, I will definitely let everyone know here, those that are following me on my podcast. So also I just want to roll out that I do have apps. Please go to Google Play or Apple Store. You can download the app for this particular podcast. I have another podcast show, and if you type my name in, my full name, Nichel Anderson, you will be able to see those available apps that you can download for free. So if you like this podcast, especially if you have been following me for a while, support this podcast and my other one by downloading the app. And if you like it, please share it. So again, this right here deals with Atlantis. This particular week I released a full short. In the future it will be clip snippets, but I wanted to do a full short to see how many people really like my take on it or where I'm going with it. So I hope that you do. So in this particular time period, it's doing the second equinoctial time, and as I mentioned in the first week when it premiered a couple of weeks ago, it's right after, or at least after, the moment of time, because I feel depending on where you at, time can mean differently if you from one location to the next, if you out not just designated on this particular planet but another. Time can be referenced and identified differently. So in that retrospect, I'm coming from the Cimmerian text, where it says in the epic of creation, the planet of crossing had a gravitational pull that changed the orbit or the destinies of the planets that we are calling now. So in this particular episode, just to highlight on it, we're focusing on where the whereabouts of Metum has risen to a point that it could be war based on the findings that they seek to understand why this happened, because he's still missing and is considered to be, of course, treason, as he is the son of Akobi. Another thing I want to highlight that I mentioned the first week of the premiere of Atlantis is that I definitely felt when I was writing down how I wanted to roll this out and how I wanted to express my take on it. And I just kept feeling deep within to focus on leadership. And I just felt that Atlantis, the people that lived there, had very strong influence. Because I think leadership is influence. Influence is leadership. And good leadership, people will follow you with a good plan, a good strategy, definitely a way to connect. And so it fit really well once I was able to just start writing freely and put the pieces together. It all correlate of the issue of other rulers and people with their own objectives, trying to find peace and trying to get their existence back in order after that galactical battle of the rearrangement of their position in this solar system, and where Atlantis where I feel is part of one of the vortexes or what have you, plays into that, the technology and the mystery of that particular location, if you believe it or not. But in that framework, it goes together with the two twins, and we're talking about two, and the balance of that, and how they are joint rulers, young rulers, but nonetheless joint rulers, that they have to use their ability of decision and leadership to influence those, not to cause uproar and battle back and forth, but to find a common ground of the new reality. And so this particular episode focused on the missing of their brother, to see that perhaps it might lead to others that are resistance of the purpose of Arinte and Makato, and how they wish to restrict that progressiveness to find, or that forwardness to find peace. When people are confused, there's a chaotic type environment, and most people don't want to listen, or they cannot listen because they're in the now of the emotional turmoil. And people with different intent of the opposite of peace wants to continue to rattle that cage so they can control. And Arinte and Makato, as I was writing both of them, I really felt that their mission and their destiny, being born in Atlantis, is they're in the center realm of influence that can sustain the peace and push back the ones that want to go to war, and take advantage of those that are not happy about their new position within this solar system. So future episodes will go more into the other rulers that play into this, the other entities that I will bring forth through Atlantis, and to see the overall picture of the lesson that we can take from this. Or at least I hope that the people that are listening to this podcast can take from it the importance of leadership, the importance to seek peace and have hope to get to peace. So that's basically what we're going to be looking at today. I still have my guest speakers that you will get to listen to. Again, this whole month and last month in January, I released a full short story. It was a series every week. And going in the future, I will go back to having clip snippets where you get part of the story, and it's more that I'm releasing is just only accessible to a patron member. Okay, to become a patron member, you will see that link to my Patreon page to get that access when I start releasing, going back to start releasing clip snippets. This, I'm just bringing out this new short story, and so I'm releasing the full as well. Mahogany, I return back to that story that people liked, dealing with the Harlem Renaissance. You can click on that in the future. That would be also clip snippets as well. So without further ado of talking about that, let's go ahead and just get started, okay? All right, so let's begin. For this week of my new short story entitled Atlantis, for my podcast show, Nichel Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond, for this week entitled Bonus Part 4, Persistence Will Always Prevail. Opening scene. As the communion of Atlantis stood around listening to Mafaso, to what was found in the northern apse of leadership by Metum, many remained silent until Makato boldly spoke up first. Someone knows of where my brother to be. Akobe spoke.
We will find the who of them. All of them.
And then Arinte spoke.
I say we shall move to the edges of the southern region of the land where there are muspis known to resist the order of Northern Aspu. I feel we can force this to speak of this.
Makata nodded. Arshe. Many others of the Atlanteans repeated by saying Arshe, Arshe in agreement. Akobe responded.
We shall move our forces to the last moment for which Metum and his regions of officers were known. Mephaso, bring the others in a region aside from my center of rule of authority of leadership. There will be many to follow you to Metum rule in the north of Atlantis.
Mephaso nodded and slightly bowed before Akobe before hurriedly leaving with his first-rank officers. Then it was Arinte that spoke with courage.
I wish to follow with Mephaso, Father. I know can assist in this matter.
But it was Akobe that shook his head in resistance. Akobe spoke.
We need you here.
But then Arinte's mother spoke with wisdom from the deep genealogy from before both of them. He would do well in his persistence by learning in such matters of leadership and strategy forward. Let him follow to assist Mephaso. Akobe hesitated at first, but then nodded in agreement to his wife. As his other generals of central authority nodded, as well as placing a hand over their right arm to signal their promise and commitment to protect the royal twin son of Akobe. Akobe spoke.
We will be with you and now always, my son.
Arinte was elated and nodded to hurry and catch up with Mephaso. He stopped short when he saw his twin sister Makato. Although she was hiding her feelings of concern, he felt it as so. Arinte touched her shoulder in comfort, and telepathically he said,
We are forever connected, my devoted sisters. Be strong for our father and our mother and our fellow Atlanteans. I will bring back our brother.
Makato responded with courage. It will be so, Arinte. I trust in Kanu. All will be well forward. As she slowly bowed her head before her brother. Everyone was in a scatter talking about to whom took away the son of Akobe, Metum. Makato was physically there, but mentally and spiritually she was not, as others continue to discuss in the royal chambers of the center of Atlantis. But her mental plane continued to think and know that something more, something, was hiding the truth. Within her Nahu spirit, she quickly sent telepathic Nahu spirit waves to her closest friends within the water kingdom of mammals, called purpose, that in future generations of time will be a part of the whale and dolphin's family origin, that in the now of Atlantis, one in particular that swims in the depths of the blue water that surrounds Atlantis, she named him Kronos. As Makato felt an element of concern and reasoning to why Metum was taken, and felt by his wife, Shakila, was connected to such a deed. Without a word to the others, Makato walked out to the large opening, and she instantly saw Kronos and felt he knew of the state of her and her family concerning Metum, and she felt to speak in their language between humans and purposes. She bent down before her friend as he rose above the blue clear water. She nodded her head, as so did he. Before she spoke in the telepathic language between them. Akasuma na afa natareshe nare anawa ete isa na fobo atasa nea. Translation. Makato said telepathically, I need your help. Search for moving carriages below the depths of water in the region of Fakeh for Metum, 22 degrees from the southern area, for there are others to behold in the missing of him, with intent to hide from us. I shall wait for your return before me here. Fresno sent a telepathic vibration back to Makato and nodded as he understood and would do as she wished before flapping his tail and flipped backwards into the blue water. Makato slowly stood up as she watched her good childhood friend of the Naru Mama vanish into the clear blueness of Atlantis, protected by the realm, then into the darkness of the blue water deep below. End scene.